Indianapolis, Indiana, March 2014. The morning of March 15, 2014 began like any other Saturday in the Mitchell household on the quiet streets of Broad Ripple, Indianapolis. The sun barely pierced through the heavy gray clouds that hung over the city, typical of Indiana's unpredictable spring weather. Inside the two-story colonial home on Guilford Avenue, Sarah Mitchell stood at the kitchen window, her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had long gone cold. She watched the street, waiting, always waiting. Jack Mitchell, her husband of 16 years, had left for work the previous morning and never came home. His blue Toyota Camry wasn't in the driveway. His phone went straight to voicemail. His office at Anderson & Associates, the insurance firm where he'd worked for 12 years, reported he never showed up that Friday. Sarah's heart pounded as she relived the previous 24 hours for what felt like the 1,000th time. She'd called everyone. Jack's colleagues, his brother in Fort Wayne, his college friends, even his estranged mother in Carmel. Nothing. No one had seen or heard from him. Mom, the voice pulled her from her trance. 15-year-old Emma stood in the doorway, her auburn hair disheveled from sleep, eyes red and swollen. Behind her, 12-year-old Tyler clutched his phone, his face pale and anxious. Any news? Emma's voice cracked. Sarah shook her head, forcing a smile that felt like broken glass across her face. Not yet, sweetheart. But the police are doing everything they can. The lie tasted bitter. Detective Maria Gonzalez from the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department had been sympathetic but realistic when Sarah filed the missing person report that morning. Most adults who disappear do so voluntarily, Mrs. Mitchell, she'd said, her dark eyes compassionate but professional. Has your husband been under any unusual stress? Financial problems? Marital issues? Sarah had bristled at the implications. Their marriage wasn't perfect, whose was? But Jack was devoted to their family. He coached Tyler's Little League team. He never missed Emma's theater performances. He kissed Sarah goodbye every morning without fail. Until yesterday. The doorbell rang, shattering the heavy silence. Sarah's coffee mug slipped from her hands, crashing against the tile floor. She barely noticed the hot liquid splashing across her bare feet as she rushed to the door, hope and dread warring in her chest. Detective Gonzalez stood on the porch, accompanied by a younger officer Sarah didn't recognize. The detective's expression was carefully neutral, but something in her eyes made Sarah's stomach drop. Mrs. Mitchell, may we come in? Sarah stepped aside, her legs trembling. Emma and Tyler appeared behind her, hovering in the hallway. The detectives entered, and Sarah noticed the younger officer glancing around the living room, taking in the family photos on the mantel, the children's school awards, the vacation pictures from their trip to Brown County last fall. Have you found him? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Is he? Is Jack alive? We have no reason to believe your husband has come to any harm, Detective Gonzalez said carefully. But we've discovered some information that requires further investigation. Mrs. Mitchell, were you aware that your husband withdrew $15,000 from your joint savings account on Thursday afternoon? The room tilted. Sarah gripped the back of the sofa to steady herself. What? No, that's impossible. I would have seen it. I check our accounts every week. The transaction was made at a branch in Fishers around 3 o'clock. The teller confirmed it was your husband. He presented proper identification. Fishers? Sarah's mind raced. Jack's office was downtown. What was he doing in Fishers, a suburb 20 miles northeast? There must be some mistake. Detective Gonzalez pulled out a small notebook. Mrs. Mitchell, I need to ask you some difficult questions, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Had your husband mentioned anything unusual in the weeks before his disappearance? Any trips he was planning? People he'd been in contact with? Sarah sank onto the sofa, her mind spinning through the previous weeks like shuffling through old photographs. Jack had seemed distracted, maybe. He'd been working late more frequently. He'd started going to the gym early in the mornings, something he'd never done in all their years together. But those were normal things, weren't they? He'd been stressed about a project at work, Sarah said slowly. Something about a major client account. He mentioned it might require some travel, but nothing specific. Did he seem anxious? Depressed? No more than usual, we all have stress. Sarah looked at her children, who stood frozen in the doorway. Emma, Tyler, go upstairs, please. Mom, Emma started. Now. After the children reluctantly climbed the stairs, Sarah turned back to the detective. What are you implying? You think Jack just left? Took our money and abandoned his family? I'm not implying anything, Mrs. Mitchell. I'm gathering facts. Detective Gonzalez's voice softened. We've also discovered that your husband's cell phone last pinged off a tower near Bloomington around midnight Thursday. That's 60 miles south of here. We're working with authorities there to check traffic cameras, ATM surveillance, anything that might tell us where he went. Bloomington? Sarah's voice rose. Why would he go to Bloomington? We don't know anyone there. Are you certain of that? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Sarah felt anger rising in her throat, hot and acidic. My husband didn't just leave. Something happened to him. Maybe someone forced him to withdraw that money. Maybe he's being held somewhere and we're wasting time asking these ridiculous questions. Detective Gonzalez remained calm. I understand you're upset, Mrs. Mitchell, but in my experience, when someone withdraws a large sum of cash and their phone travels 60 miles in a direction away from home, they usually know exactly where they're going. Sarah stood abruptly. Get out. If you're not going to actually look for my husband, then get out of my house. Mrs. Mitchell, I said get out. After the detectives left, Sarah stood in the empty living room, her whole body shaking. Upstairs, she could hear Emma's muffled sobs. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the silence. 48 hours ago, her life had made sense. Jack had kissed her goodbye, told her he'd pick up Thai food for dinner, and walked out the door like he had thousands of times before. Now, nothing made sense. Sarah climbed the stairs and found Emma and Tyler sitting together on Emma's bed, both crying quietly. She pulled them close, breathing in the familiar scent of their shampoo, feeling their hearts beating against her own. We're going to find him, she whispered, surprised by the steel in her own voice. Whatever happened, wherever he is, we're going to find him. But even as she said the words, doubt crept into her mind like cold water seeping through cracks. $15,000. Bloomington. A phone that went dark. What did she really know about the man she'd shared her life with for 16 years? That night, after the children finally fell into exhausted sleep, Sarah sat at Jack's desk in their home office. She'd never snooped through his things before. There had never been a reason to. But now, as she opened drawer after drawer, she felt like an archaeologist excavating a stranger's life. Bank statements, work emails, old birthday cards from the kids. Everything seemed normal, ordinary, perfectly consistent with the man she thought she knew. Then, at the back of the bottom drawer, her fingers brushed against something unusual, a burner phone. Sarah's hands trembled as she powered it on. The phone was cheap, disposable, the kind you bought at a gas station with cash. Why would Jack have a phone like this? The screen lit up, showing a nearly full call log. All the calls were to and from one number. No name saved, just digits with a 317 area code, local to Indianapolis. Sarah's finger hovered over the callback button. Everything in her wanted to press it, to demand answers from whoever was on the other end. But something stopped her. Fear, maybe, or the terrible certainty that once she pressed that button, there would be no going back. The phone buzzed in her hand. A text message appeared on the screen. Did you get there safely? I've been so worried. Please call me when you can. I love you. The message was signed with a single initial, A. Sarah's vision blurred. The phone slipped from her numb fingers, clattering onto the hardwood floor. Outside, the Indianapolis night pressed against the windows, dark and impenetrable. Somewhere out there, Jack Mitchell was alive, and he was with someone else. Indianapolis, Indiana, March 2014. Sarah didn't sleep that night. She sat in Jack's office until dawn broke over Indianapolis, the burner phone on the desk before her like a piece of evidence at a crime scene. The message from A glowed accusingly in the darkness, each word a small detonation in her mind. I love you. Those 3 words meant for her husband, written by someone else. As pale morning light filtered through the blinds, Sarah heard movement upstairs. Emma and Tyler getting ready for what would have been a normal Sunday. But nothing would ever be normal again. She needed to hold herself together for them, even as her world crumbled like sand between her fingers. She took a photo of the message with her own phone, then powered down the burner and slipped it back into Jack's drawer. Evidence. She would need evidence for whatever came next. Divorce lawyers, police investigations, the inevitable unraveling of their life together. The word divorce felt foreign in her mouth, like speaking a language she'd never learned. 16 years, 2 children, a mortgage, a life built brick by brick, memory by memory. And Jack had demolished it all with a secret phone and a midnight drive to Bloomington. Mom? Tyler's voice drifted down from the kitchen. Can we have pancakes? Sarah closed her eyes, took a breath that felt like swallowing glass, and stood up. Sure, honey, I'll be right there. She made pancakes on autopilot, flipping them with mechanical precision while her mind churned through possibilities. Who was A? How long had this been going on? The detective's questions from yesterday echoed in her head. Had she noticed anything unusual? The late nights at work, the new gym routine, the way Jack had seemed distracted during dinner conversations, his mind clearly somewhere else. All the cliches she'd heard about affairs, all the warning signs she'd dismissed as normal married life, suddenly crystallized into a pattern she'd been too trusting or too naive to see. "Is Dad coming home today?" Tyler asked through a mouthful of pancakes. Emma kicked him under the table. "Tyler, don't—" "It's okay," Sarah interrupted, forcing steadiness into her voice. "I don't know yet, baby, but we're doing everything we can to find him." After breakfast, while the kids retreated to their rooms, Sarah called Detective Gonzalez. The detective answered on the second ring, her voice crisp and professional despite it being Sunday morning. "Mrs. Mitchell, do you have new information? I found something, a phone hidden in Jack's desk. There are messages from someone, initial A. They seem intimate." The words tasted like poison. "The last message came in last night asking if he got there safely." A pause. "I'll need to see that phone, Mrs. Mitchell. Don't touch it anymore. We may be able to trace the number, get phone records. There's more." Sarah's voice dropped. Jack had been acting differently for months. Working late, going to the gym at odd hours. "I thought it was just stress, but now—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "I understand this is difficult," Detective Gonzalez said, and for the first time Sarah heard genuine sympathy beneath the professional tone. "I'll be at your house in 30 minutes. In the meantime, try to think of anything else. Credit card statements, receipts, anything that might show a pattern of behavior." After hanging up, Sarah returned to Jack's office with new purpose. If her husband had been living a double life, there would be traces. People who deceived always left breadcrumbs even if they didn't mean to. She pulled out their credit card statements from the past 6 months, spreading them across the desk. Most charges were mundane: grocery stores, gas stations, the kids' school expenses. But as she studied them more carefully, inconsistencies emerged. 3 charges at a restaurant called the Ivy in Bloomington, always on Thursday evenings. Jack supposedly worked late on Thursdays. Her hands shook as she highlighted each charge. February 6th, February 20th, March 6th, all within the past 6 weeks. All at the same restaurant in a city 60 miles away. A city Jack supposedly had no connection to. Sarah grabbed her laptop and searched for the Ivy. It was an upscale bistro near Indiana University's campus. The kind of place you took someone for a romantic dinner, not a business meeting. The website showed candlelit tables, intimate booths, couples gazing at each other over wine glasses. She was going to be sick. Detective Gonzalez arrived with the same young officer from yesterday. Sarah handed over the burner phone, explained about the restaurant charges, watched as the detective photographed everything with methodical efficiency. "Mrs. Mitchell, I want to be straight with you," Gonzalez said, sitting across from Sarah at the kitchen table. "This is looking less like a missing person case and more like a voluntary disappearance. Your husband appears to have been planning this for some time." "Planning what? To just leave us?" Sarah's voice cracked. "He has children. He has a life here. He wouldn't just—" "People do, Mrs. Mitchell. More often than you'd think." The detective's dark eyes were kind but unflinching. "We'll trace this number, pull phone records, check surveillance footage from that restaurant, but you need to prepare yourself for what we might find." After the detective left, Sarah sat alone in the kitchen, staring at her reflection in the window. At 42, she looked older than she had just 3 days ago. New lines creased her forehead. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She barely recognized herself. The house felt different now, haunted by questions. She wandered through rooms that suddenly seemed staged, like a movie set of a happy family rather than a real home. Had Jack been miserable here? Had he looked at her across the dinner table and wished he was somewhere else with someone else? Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Sarah's heart lurched as she answered. "Sarah Mitchell?" An unfamiliar woman's voice, trembling slightly. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Andrea Walsh. I think we need to talk. It's about Jack." Sarah's blood turned to ice. "A," the initial from the burner phone. "I didn't know," Andrea continued, words tumbling out in a rush. "I swear I didn't know he was married. He told me he was divorced, that he had an ex-wife in Indianapolis, but they'd been separated for years. I only found out the truth yesterday when I saw the missing person report on the news." Sarah couldn't speak. Her throat had closed. Her lungs had forgotten how to draw air. "Mrs. Mitchell?" Are you there? Where is he? Sarah finally managed, her voice barely a whisper. Where is my husband? He's here, with me in Bloomington. He's been living here for the past 2 months. The room spun. 2 months. While Sarah had been packing his lunches, washing his clothes, sleeping beside the empty space where he should have been on the nights he claimed to work late, Jack had been building an entire separate life 60 miles south. He told me he needed time to figure things out, Andrea continued, sounding younger than Sarah had imagined. Mid-30s, maybe. He said the divorce was complicated, that there were custody issues. I believed him. God, I'm so stupid. You're not the stupid one, Sarah said, surprised by the venom in her own voice. Does he know you're calling me? No, he's at work. He got a job here at a car dealership. Mrs. Mitchell, I am so sorry. I would never have, if I'd known he was lying. I need to see him. The words came out mechanical, divorced from emotion. I need to talk to him face to face. He doesn't want that. He said he can't go back, that it's too complicated, that I don't care what he wants. Sarah's control finally shattered. He's been lying to everyone. He has children who think he's dead or kidnapped. He doesn't get to decide anything anymore. Andrea was crying now. You're right, you're absolutely right. I'll send you the address, but Mrs. Mitchell, he's different than you probably remember. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like he became someone else entirely. After Andrea hung up, Sarah sat motionless, phone clutched in her white-knuckled hand. Her husband was alive. He was safe. He was with another woman, living another life, being another person. The relief she should have felt was drowned by rage so pure it terrified her. She should call Detective Gonzalez. She should call Jack's brother. She should think about Emma and Tyler upstairs, oblivious to the fact that their father hadn't been taken from them. He'd simply walked away. Instead, Sarah grabbed her car keys. The drive to Bloomington took 53 minutes. Sarah barely remembered getting on Highway 37, barely noticed the budding spring landscape rolling past her windows. Her mind was white noise, static, a television tuned to a dead channel. Andrea's text had included an address on the south side of Bloomington, a modest apartment complex near the mall. Sarah pulled into the parking lot at 2:17 p.m., her hands steady on the wheel despite the earthquake happening inside her chest. Jack's blue Camry sat in a designated space looking exactly as it always had. Sarah parked beside it, noting the Indiana University parking permit on the windshield, something he'd never mentioned needing. She climbed the stairs to apartment 2B on legs that felt borrowed from someone else's body. Her finger pressed the doorbell. Chimes echoed inside. The door opened. Jack Mitchell stood before her, and Andrea had been right. He looked different. He'd lost weight. His hair was longer, styled differently. He wore clothes she'd never seen before, trendy jeans and a fitted shirt that the Jack she knew would never have chosen. But it was his expression that truly shocked her. The brief flash of guilt quickly replaced by something harder, more defensive. Sarah. Her name sounded foreign in his mouth. You shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be. She couldn't finish the sentence. 16 years of marriage, of partnership, of raising children together, and those were his first words. Not an apology, not an explanation, just a boundary, a wall, a door closing in her face. Let me explain. Explain. Sarah pushed past him into the apartment. It was small but tidy, decorated with feminine touches that made her stomach turn. You disappeared. Your children think something terrible happened to you. The police are searching for you. And you want to explain? A woman emerged from the bedroom. Andrea, presumably. She was younger than Sarah had imagined, maybe 35, with long dark hair and wide, frightened eyes. Pretty, in a wholesome way that made Sarah's rage burn hotter. I told her to call you, Andrea said quietly. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Mitchell, I didn't know. Get out, Jack said to Andrea, his voice sharp. Please, just give us a minute. Andrea grabbed her purse and fled, leaving Sarah alone with the stranger who used to be her husband. Why? Sarah's voice broke. Just tell me why. Jack ran his hand through his hair, a gesture she'd seen him make 1,000 times when he was stressed. Because I was drowning, Sarah. I was drowning in a life I never really chose. I got married too young, had kids too young, and I woke up one day and realized I didn't know who I was anymore. So you just left? You couldn't talk to me? We couldn't try counseling, try to work things out? I tried to tell you so many times, but you were always so satisfied, so content with everything. I didn't know how to tell you I wasn't. Sarah stared at him, this man she'd slept beside for 16 years, and realized she was looking at a complete stranger. You have children, Jack. Whatever you felt, whatever you wanted, you have children who need their father. I know. And I'll work something out. I'll figure out visitation and support, but I can't come back, Sarah. I can't go back to being that person anymore. The finality in his voice was like a physical blow. Sarah backed toward the door, her hand finding the knob behind her. I'll tell Emma and Tyler you're alive, she said, her voice hollow. I'll tell them their father chose to abandon them. I'll tell them the truth about what kind of man you really are. She left before he could respond, before the tears could fall, before she completely fell apart in front of him. She made it to her car, locked the doors, and only then did she allow herself to break. Sarah Mitchell cried for the husband she'd lost, the marriage that had been a lie, the future that had evaporated like morning mist. But underneath the grief, something else was growing, a cold, hard determination. Jack thought he could simply walk away from 16 years, from his children, from his responsibilities. He thought he could start over with a new woman in a new city and face no consequences for the devastation he'd left behind. He was wrong. Sarah started her car and pointed it north toward Indianapolis, toward her children, toward whatever came next. She didn't know what that would be yet, but one thing was certain. This story was far from over, and Jack Mitchell had no idea what he'd just set in motion. Indianapolis, Indiana, March 2014. The drive back to Indianapolis passed in a blur of tears and rage. Sarah gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white, her mind replaying every moment of the confrontation with Jack, the stranger in his eyes, the casual dismissal of their 16-year marriage, the audacity of his self-pity, as if he were the victim in this nightmare. By the time she pulled into her driveway, darkness had fallen over Broad Ripple. The porch light glowed like a beacon, and through the living room window, Sarah could see Emma and Tyler sitting on the couch, probably watching television, waiting for news about their father. How was she supposed to tell them? What words existed to explain that their dad hadn't been kidnapped or killed, but had simply decided they weren't worth staying for? Sarah sat in the car for 10 minutes, gathering the fragments of herself, trying to assemble them into something resembling a functioning mother. Finally, she walked inside. Both children looked up immediately, hope and fear warring on their young faces. "Mom?" Emma stood, her voice trembling. "Did they find him?" Sarah set her purse down carefully, buying herself a few more seconds. "Sit down, both of you. We need to talk." The next 20 minutes were the hardest of Sarah's life. She watched her children's faces as she explained, carefully, gently but truthfully, that their father was alive and safe in Bloomington, that he'd left voluntarily, that he'd been planning it for months. She didn't mention Andrea by name, simply said their father had made different choices and needed space to figure things out. Tyler at 12 didn't fully understand. But when is he coming home? Emma, older and sharper, understood perfectly. "He's not coming back, is he?" Her voice was flat, emotionless. "He left us." "Your father is dealing with some personal issues," Sarah began, hating herself for making excuses for him. "But this isn't about you two. You need to know that. This is about choices he made, not anything you did wrong. I don't want to see him." Emma stood abruptly, tears streaming down her face. "Ever. I hate him. Honey. No. He let us think he was dead. He let us cry and worry and feel scared, and he was just, what, living with some other woman, starting a new life?" Emma's voice rose to a scream. I hate him, and I never want to see him again." She ran upstairs, her bedroom door slamming with enough force to shake the walls. Tyler sat frozen on the couch, his face pale and confused. "I don't understand, Mom. Why would Dad leave? Doesn't he love us anymore?" Sarah pulled her son close, breathing in the little boy smell of him, feeling his heart racing against her chest. "Of course he loves you. People are complicated, Tyler. Sometimes they make terrible decisions that hurt the people they love, but none of this is your fault." After getting Tyler to bed, a process that took 2 hours and 3 glasses of water and countless reassurances, Sarah finally retreated to her bedroom. Jack's side of the bed looked obscene in its emptiness. She'd made it that morning out of habit, smoothing the sheets he'd never sleep on again. Her phone buzzed. Detective Gonzalez. "Mrs. Mitchell, I heard from Bloomington PD. They've made contact with your husband. He's confirmed he left voluntarily and doesn't wish to return. I'm sorry, but there's nothing more we can do from a law enforcement perspective. This is now a civil matter. Divorce, custody, that sort of thing." "I understand. Thank you for your help, Detective. For what it's worth, Mrs. Mitchell, I've seen a lot of these cases. Men who walk away from families usually come to regret it eventually. I know that's small comfort now, but it's not, Sarah interrupted, surprised by the bitterness in her voice. But thank you anyway. After hanging up, Sarah opened her laptop and began researching divorce attorneys in Indianapolis. She'd never imagined she'd need one, but here she was at midnight, comparing billable rates and success stories, reading reviews from other abandoned spouses. One name kept appearing at the top of every list: Patricia Hendricks, a partner at Morrison and Hendricks downtown. Aggressive representation for wronged spouses, her website proclaimed. We fight for what you deserve. Sarah sent an email requesting a consultation, then sat in the dark bedroom listening to the house settle around her. This was her life now. Single mother, abandoned wife, woman whose husband had erased their entire history like it meant nothing. The anger that had been simmering all day suddenly boiled over. Sarah stood, walked to Jack's closet, and began pulling his clothes down by the armful. Suits, shirts, jeans, shoes, all of it landed in a heap on the floor. She grabbed garbage bags from the kitchen and stuffed everything inside with violent efficiency. If Jack wanted to start a new life, fine. But he didn't get to leave his old one scattered around her house like forgotten props from a play that had closed. She was hauling the bags to the garage when her phone rang. An unknown number, but local. Sarah answered, expecting a spam call. Mrs. Mitchell? This is Rebecca Chen. I work at Anderson & Associates with Jack. Sarah's hand tightened on the phone. Yes? I heard what happened. I'm so sorry, but I thought you should know something. Rebecca's voice dropped to a whisper. Jack didn't just leave the family. He embezzled money from the company. Almost $50,000 over the past 6 months. We only discovered it yesterday when we started investigating his disappearance. The garage spun around Sarah. What? Small amounts. Taken from client escrow accounts and covered up with false paperwork. Jack was smart about it. It might have gone undetected for years if he hadn't vanished. The partners are meeting tomorrow to decide whether to press charges. I thought you should know before it becomes public. After Rebecca hung up, Sarah stood among the garbage bags full of Jack's clothes, her mind reeling. Embezzlement. Not just abandonment, not just adultery, but actual crimes. Federal crimes. The man she'd married, the man she'd trusted with her life and her children's futures, was a criminal. Sarah pulled out her phone and called the one person who might understand what she was feeling. Sarah? Jesus, it's after midnight. Is everything okay? Her sister Claire lived in Chicago 3 hours away, but they'd always been close despite the distance. Sarah had called her yesterday when Jack first disappeared, and Claire had offered to drive down immediately. Sarah had told her to wait, that everything would be fine. Now standing in her garage surrounded by the physical remnants of her demolished marriage, Sarah finally let herself fall apart. Claire, I need you. Please. I need you to come. I'm already packing. I'll be there by breakfast. True to her word, Claire arrived at 7 a.m., pulling into the driveway in her silver Honda, just as Sarah was making coffee with shaking hands. Claire was 3 years younger, unmarried, a corporate attorney in Chicago who'd always been the strong one, the capable one. She took one look at Sarah and pulled her into a fierce hug. Tell me everything, Claire said. Over coffee that grew cold as the morning light strengthened, Sarah poured out the entire story. The disappearance, the burner phone, the restaurant receipts, the confrontation in Bloomington, the embezzlement. Claire listened without interrupting, her expression growing harder with each revelation. That son of a bitch, Claire finally said. Sarah, you need to protect yourself. If Jack embezzled money, there could be civil liability. His victims might come after marital assets. We don't have any assets, just the house, and we still owe more on the mortgage than it's worth. Bank accounts, retirement funds, joint checking with maybe $3,000. His 401k from work, but I don't know how much is in it. Sarah felt stupid, naive. I never paid attention to the finances. Jack handled all that. Claire's jaw tightened. Okay. First thing, you're going to that meeting with Patricia Hendricks. Second, we're freezing all joint accounts so Jack can't drain them. Third, you're getting a forensic accountant to go through every penny of your finances. If Jack stole from his company, he might have stolen from you too. The thought hadn't even occurred to Sarah, but now it seemed obvious. A man who could embezzle $50,000 from his employer wouldn't hesitate to hide money from his wife. The kids, Sarah said suddenly. Emma won't come out of her room. Tyler keeps asking when Dad is coming to visit. How do I help them through this? You get them into therapy immediately, and Sarah? Claire took her sister's hands, her voice fierce. You stop protecting Jack, you stop making excuses for him. Whatever happens next, criminal charges, divorce proceedings, custody battles, you fight for yourself and those kids. You understand me? You fight." Sarah nodded, feeling something shift inside her chest. The grief was still there, raw and aching, but underneath it, steel was forming. Jack had taken so much from her trust, her marriage, her sense of reality, but he didn't get to take her strength. The doorbell rang. Through the window, Sarah saw a man in a suit, expensive, tailored, standing on her porch with an envelope in his hand. "Are you Sarah Mitchell?" he asked when she opened the door. "Yes, you've been served." He thrust the envelope into her hands and walked away. Sarah's hands trembled as she opened it. Legal documents, dense with text. She scanned the first page, then the second, the words blurring together until one phrase jumped out at her. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Jack was divorcing her. Claire appeared at her shoulder, reading over her arm. That bastard. He abandons his family and then has the audacity to file first? Sarah kept reading, her shock deepening with each paragraph. Jack was seeking joint custody of the children. He was claiming Sarah had been emotionally distant and unwilling to work on the marriage. He was requesting she pay him spousal support because he'd sacrificed career opportunities to support the family. Every word was a lie, a revision of history so blatant it took Sarah's breath away. "He's rewriting everything," she whispered. "He's making himself the victim. That's what abusers do," Claire said quietly. "And make no mistake, Sarah, what Jack did to you and those kids is abuse. Emotional, financial, psychological abuse. He doesn't get to walk away clean." Emma appeared at the top of the stairs, her face swollen from crying. "Mom, who is at the door?" Sarah looked at her daughter, at the pain and confusion in her young eyes, and felt something crystallize inside her. Jack wanted a fight. He'd get one. "Just someone delivering papers, honey. Nothing important." Sarah forced a smile. "Why don't you and Tyler get dressed? Aunt Claire is taking you both out for breakfast while I handle some things." After the kids left with Claire, Sarah sat at her kitchen table with the divorce papers spread before her. She pulled out her laptop and began documenting everything. Every lie, every deception, every dollar Jack had stolen. She downloaded bank statements, printed emails, compiled a timeline of his double life. If Jack Mitchell wanted to rewrite their history, she'd make sure the truth was documented in excruciating detail. Her phone buzzed with an email response from Patricia Hendricks' office. "Ms. Hendricks can see you at 2 o'clock today. Please bring all financial documents and any evidence related to your case." Sarah smiled grimly. Jack had made a crucial mistake. He'd assumed she'd be too broken, too compliant, too destroyed to fight back. He was about to learn otherwise. At 1:45 p.m., Sarah walked into the sleek downtown offices of Morrison and Hendricks, carrying 2 banker's boxes full of documents. Patricia Hendricks was exactly what Sarah needed. A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an even sharper reputation for destroying lying spouses in court. "Mrs. Mitchell," Patricia said, shaking her hand firmly. "I've reviewed your initial email. Tell me everything." By the time Sarah finished her story, Patricia was smiling, a cold, predatory expression that should have been frightening, but instead felt like salvation. "Mrs. Mitchell, your husband has made several critical errors. First, he filed for divorce while under investigation for embezzlement. Second, he's claiming you should pay him support while he's living with another woman. Third, he's seeking joint custody while abandoning his children without explanation." Patricia leaned forward. "We're going to destroy him." "I don't want revenge," Sarah said quietly. "I want justice. I want my children protected. I want him to face consequences for what he's done." "Then you've come to the right place." Patricia pressed a button on her phone. "Jennifer, file an emergency motion for full custody and temporary restraining orders on all marital assets. And contact the FBI field office. I believe they'll be very interested in Mr. Mitchell's financial activities." As Sarah left the attorney's office 2 hours later, the sun was setting over Indianapolis, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Spring was coming, she realized. The world was waking up from winter, pushing through frozen ground toward light. Sarah Mitchell was waking up too, and Jack was about to discover that the quiet, compliant wife he'd left behind no longer existed. Indianapolis, Indiana, April 2014. 3 weeks after Jack filed for divorce, Sarah sat in a conference room at the FBI's Indianapolis field office, flanked by Patricia Hendricks and 2 federal agents. The room was sterile and cold, with fluorescent lights that made everything look washed out and institutional. Special Agent Michael Torres, a man in his 40s with graying hair and tired eyes, slid a folder across the table toward her. Mrs. Mitchell, we need you to look at these bank statements and tell us if you recognize any of these transactions. Sarah opened the folder, her hands steadier than they'd been in weeks. Therapy was helping, both for her and the kids. Dr. Ellen Morrison, a family counselor specializing in parental abandonment, had been teaching them all how to process the trauma, how to separate Jack's choices from their own worth. Emma was slowly coming out of her shell, though she still refused to take Jack's calls. Tyler was struggling more, vacillating between anger and desperate hope that his father would come home. Sarah was learning to sit with her own grief without letting it consume her. The bank statements showed a pattern that made her stomach turn. Transfers from Anderson and Associates client accounts to a personal account Sarah had never seen before, an account in Jack's name only, opened 8 months ago at a bank in Bloomington. I didn't know about this account, Sarah said, her voice flat. Jack always told me we kept everything joint for simplicity. He opened it the same week he signed a lease on the Bloomington apartment, Agent Torres said. We've traced over $73,000 in fraudulent transfers. Most of it went into this account, then was withdrawn in cash or transferred to another account we're still tracking. Patricia Hendricks made a note on her legal pad. This establishes a clear pattern of financial deception, extending well beyond the embezzlement from his employer. He was systematically hiding assets from his wife while planning his departure. The second agent, a younger woman named Sandra Kim, leaned forward. Mrs. Mitchell, we need to ask you some difficult questions. Did your husband ever discuss offshore accounts, cryptocurrency? Any attempts to hide money? No, never. I thought we were barely making ends meet. Jack always said money was tight, that we needed to be careful with spending. Sarah felt like an idiot saying it out loud. I believed him. He was taking over $6,000 a month from his employer, Agent Torres said, plus his regular salary. Where did you think that money was going? He said he was paying down old credit card debt from before we got married. He said we needed to rebuild his credit score. Sarah's voice cracked. I trusted him. We were married 16 years. Why wouldn't I trust him? Patricia placed a hand on Sarah's arm, a rare gesture of sympathy from the normally stoic attorney. Because you're a normal person who expected honesty from your spouse. Jack exploited that trust systematically. It's not your fault. Over the next 2 hours, the agents walked Sarah through Jack's financial crimes in exhaustive detail. He'd been stealing from his company for almost a year, carefully manipulating accounts to hide the theft. He'd opened credit cards in both their names without her knowledge, maxing them out and paying only minimum balances, destroying their credit. He'd even taken out a second mortgage on their house, forging Sarah's signature, and pocketed the $30,000 cash out. Wait, Sarah interrupted, her mind reeling. He forged my signature? That's identity theft. That's fraud. Yes, it is, Agent Kim confirmed. We're building a case against him for wire fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, and several other charges. If convicted, he could face 20 years in federal prison. The number hung in the air. 20 years. Emma would be 35. Tyler would be 32. Jack would be an old man. His life essentially over. Sarah waited for satisfaction to wash over her, for vindication, for the pleasure of revenge. Instead, she just felt tired. So deeply, bone-wearily, tired. What do you need from me? She asked. Testimony, documentation, anything that shows a pattern of deception and financial control. Agent Torres pushed a business card across the table. And Mrs. Mitchell, you should know that Jack's attorney has been in contact with the U.S. Attorney's Office. He's trying to make a deal. What kind of deal? He's claiming duress. Says he was pressured by his girlfriend, that she convinced him to steal the money to fund their new life together. He's trying to shift blame to Andrea Walsh. The audacity of it stole Sarah's breath. Even now, facing federal charges, Jack was trying to escape responsibility by sacrificing the woman he'd claimed to love. Is that true? Sarah asked. Was Andrea involved? We've interviewed her extensively. She claims she knew nothing about the embezzlement or the forged documents. We're still investigating. But right now, the evidence suggests Jack acted alone and lied to Andrea about his financial situation, just like he lied to you. After the FBI meeting, Patricia drove Sarah to a nearby coffee shop. They sat by the window overlooking Monument Circle, watching Indianapolis office workers hurry past on their lunch breaks. Normal people with normal problems. How are you holding up? Patricia asked, her usual professional distance softening slightly. I don't know anymore, Sarah admitted. Some days I'm angry enough to burn the world down. Other days I just want to hide in bed and pretend none of this is real. Emma is in therapy twice a week. Tyler started wetting the bed again, something he hasn't done since he was 5. And Jack. She laughed bitterly. Jack is living in Bloomington, working at a car dealership, playing house with a woman who now realizes she's dating a criminal. He's not going to stay free much longer. The U.S. attorney is moving forward with charges. I'd estimate he'll be indicted within 6 weeks. And then what? He goes to prison and my kids grow up without a father? They're already traumatized. How do I explain to them that their dad is in federal prison? Patricia's expression was somber. With the truth. Age appropriately, but truthfully. Jack made choices that hurt people. He broke laws. Actions have consequences. Those are lessons your children need to learn, painful as they are. Sarah's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Please. It's Andrea. She showed the message to Patricia, who frowned. You're under no obligation to speak with her. I know, but I think I want to. Sarah stood, gathering her purse. Maybe she can help me understand something I can't figure out on my own. How Jack fooled us both so completely. They met at a small park in Bloomington the next afternoon. Andrea Walsh sat on a bench overlooking a pond, looking nothing like the confident woman Sarah had glimpsed briefly in the apartment. She'd lost weight. Her clothes hung loose, and dark circles shadowed her eyes. Thank you for coming, Andrea said as Sarah approached. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. Sarah sat down, maintaining careful distance between them. What do you want to talk about? The truth. All of it. Andrea twisted her hands in her lap. I need to tell someone what really happened, and you're the only person who might understand. Over the next hour, Andrea told her story. She'd met Jack at the Ivy in September, 7 months ago. He'd been charming, attentive, funny. Everything she'd been looking for after a difficult divorce of her own. He told her he was recently separated, that his ex-wife was difficult and controlling, that he was trying to rebuild his life. He seemed so genuine, Andrea said, tears streaming down her face. He talked about his kids constantly, said he missed them terribly, but his ex was making visitation difficult. He showed me pictures of Emma and Tyler. I thought he was a devoted father trapped in a bad situation. He was lying about everything, Sarah said flatly. I know that now, but at the time, God, Sarah, can I call you Sarah? At the time, I believed every word. He moved here in January, said he'd found a job and wanted to be closer to me. He said the divorce was being finalized. I helped him find the apartment, co-signed the lease because his credit was supposedly frozen during the separation. Sarah's jaw tightened. Even Andrea had been manipulated, used, exploited for her signature and her trust. When did you realize the truth? The day you showed up. After you left, I confronted him. He admitted he'd been lying, said his marriage wasn't actually over, said he'd panicked and didn't know how to tell me the truth. He swore he was going to divorce you anyway, that he really did love me. Andrea laughed bitterly. I threw him out that night. He's been staying at a motel ever since. Did you know about the money? The embezzlement? No, I swear to God, no. When the FBI came to interview me, I nearly had a heart attack. I'm a bank manager, Sarah. If I'd known Jack was stealing money, I would have reported him immediately. I could lose my career over this. Sarah studied Andrea's face, looking for deception and finding only exhausted honesty. This woman was a victim too, just another person Jack had used and discarded in his selfish quest for. What? Happiness? Freedom? A life without consequences? Why are you telling me this? Sarah asked. Because the FBI thinks I might have been involved. They're investigating my finances, my bank, everything. My attorney says they might charge me as an accomplice if they can establish I knew anything. Andrea's voice broke. And because I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't help. I know I still slept with your husband, still helped him hide from his responsibilities. But I genuinely didn't know. I thought he was free. I thought I was building something real with someone honest. Sarah wanted to hate this woman. She wanted to blame her for everything, to make her the villain in the story. But looking at Andrea's devastated face, seeing her own pain reflected back, Sarah couldn't summon the energy. They were both just women who'd believed a liar. The FBI asked me to testify, Sarah said after a long silence. They want me to help build their case against Jack. They're offering him a plea deal if he agrees to testify that you were involved. Andrea went pale. What? He's trying to blame you. Says you pressured him to steal the money, that you knew everything, and manipulated him into doing it. That son of a bitch. Andrea's hands clenched into fists. He's going to destroy my life to save himself. That's what he does. He destroys people and walks away. Sarah pulled out her phone and showed Andrea a text message that had come through that morning, from Jack. "Read this." The message said, "Sarah, please don't testify against me. Think of the kids. They need their father. Can't we work this out privately? I'll give you everything in the divorce. Just please don't send me to prison." Andrea read it, her expression hardening. "He sent me something similar, begging me to tell the FBI it was all my idea, promising he'd take care of me if I just protected him. What did you say?" "I told him to go to hell." Andrea looked at Sarah directly. "I'm telling the truth to the FBI. All of it. Every lie he told me, every manipulation, everything. If Jack goes to prison, it'll be because of his own choices, not because I covered for him." Sarah felt something shift in her chest, a strange kinship with this woman she should hate. They'd both been betrayed by the same man. They'd both believed his lies. And now they were both facing the consequences of his selfishness. "I should hate you," Sarah said quietly. "I'd understand if you did, but I don't. You're just another person Jack used." Sarah stood, preparing to leave. "For what it's worth, I believe you didn't know, and I'll tell the FBI that when I testify." Andrea grabbed her hand. "Thank you. And Sarah, I hope you find peace. I hope your kids heal. You all deserve so much better than what he gave you." Driving back to Indianapolis, Sarah's phone rang. Patricia Hendricks. "Sarah, you need to get home immediately. Jack showed up at your house." Sarah's blood ran cold. "What? When?" 20 minutes ago. Claire called me. He's demanding to see the kids. Emma locked herself in the bathroom and Tyler is crying. Claire called the police, but I wanted to warn you before you walked into it." Sarah pressed the accelerator, her heart pounding. Jack had violated the restraining order she'd filed, had shown up at their home without warning, had traumatized their children yet again. The drive that should have taken an hour took 40 minutes. Sarah pulled onto her street to find 2 police cars in her driveway, lights flashing. Neighbors stood on their porches watching the drama unfold like a reality show. Jack sat in the back of one patrol car, his face red and angry. When he saw Sarah, he started yelling, his voice muffled by the window but still audible. "This is your fault. You turned them against me. They're my kids too." Sarah ignored him, rushing into her house where she found Claire sitting with Tyler on the couch. Her son's face was blotchy from crying, his small body trembling. "Where's Emma?" Sarah demanded. "Still in the bathroom. She won't come out." Sarah climbed the stairs and knocked gently on the bathroom door. "Emma, honey, it's Mom. Dad's gone. The police took him away. You're safe now." Silence. "Emma, please, I need to know you're okay." The lock clicked. The door opened a crack. Emma's face appeared, makeup smeared, eyes swollen. "I don't want him to ever come back, Mom. Ever. I don't care if he's my father. I don't care if it makes me a bad person. I hate him." Sarah pulled her daughter close, feeling Emma's body shake with sobs. "You're not a bad person. You have every right to feel however you feel." Downstairs, a police officer was taking Claire's statement. He looked up when Sarah appeared with Emma. "Mrs. Mitchell, your husband violated the restraining order. We're arresting him for contempt and criminal trespass. Do you want to press charges?" Sarah looked at her children, Emma clinging to her like a lifeline. Tyler curled into Claire's side like he was trying to disappear. She thought about Jack sitting in that patrol car, still blaming everyone but himself, still acting like he was the victim. "Yes," she said firmly. "Press charges." As the police cars pulled away with Jack in custody, Sarah stood in her doorway, her children safe behind her, and felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Certainty. Jack had made his choices. Now he would face the consequences. And Sarah Mitchell was finally ready to move forward. Indianapolis, Indiana, May 2014. The grand jury indicted Jack Mitchell on 17 counts of wire fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, and money laundering in the first week of May. The news made the local papers. Former insurance executive accused of a $150,000 fraud scheme, and Sarah found herself fielding calls from reporters, former friends, and curious neighbors who suddenly wanted the inside story. She ignored them all. Patricia Hendricks had been clear. Say nothing publicly, document everything privately, and let the evidence speak for itself. The U.S. Attorney's Office had built an airtight case. Jack's arraignment was scheduled for May 15th, and his attorney, a public defender named Raymond Torres, no relation to the FBI agent, was already signaling that Jack might plead guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. "They're offering him 8 years with possibility of parole after 5, Patricia told Sarah during a meeting at her office. "He's likely to take it." The alternative is going to trial and facing 20 years if convicted on all counts. Sarah stared out the window at the Indianapolis skyline, processing the information. 8 years. Emma would be 23. Tyler would be 20. Their father would miss high school graduations, college decisions, first jobs, first loves, all the milestone moments that made up a life. How do you feel about that? Patricia asked. I don't know. Is that enough? Is that justice? Justice is complicated, Sarah. 8 years in federal prison will destroy what's left of Jack's life. He'll lose his career, his reputation, his freedom. He'll be a convicted felon. When he gets out, he'll struggle to find employment, housing, any semblance of normalcy. Patricia's expression was grave. Some would say that's more than enough. Others would say it's not nearly enough for what he did to you and your children. What about restitution? The money he stole? That's part of the plea deal. He has to pay back everything to Anderson and Associates and to you. The forged mortgage, the credit cards, all of it. But Sarah, he has no assets. The money's gone. You'll likely never see a penny of it. Sarah absorbed this news with a strange numbness. She'd stopped expecting anything from Jack weeks ago, stopped hoping he'd do the right thing, stopped believing he was capable of taking responsibility for his actions. The man she'd married had been a fiction, and the real Jack Mitchell was a stranger she wanted nothing to do with. What about custody? Sarah asked. The divorce? Jack's attorney is asking him to sign away all parental rights in exchange for you not testifying at his sentencing hearing. He knows your victim impact statement would be devastating. He's trying to avoid it. Sarah felt something twist in her chest. Not quite grief, not quite rage, something darker and more complicated. Jack was willing to abandon his children permanently to avoid hearing about the pain he'd caused them. Emma doesn't want to see him anyway, Sarah said quietly. She's been very clear about that. But Tyler still asks about him sometimes. Still wonders if maybe Dad will come back and everything will be okay. Tyler needs to understand that's not going to happen. The sooner he accepts that reality, the healthier he'll be in the long run. Patricia leaned forward. Sarah, I know this is hard to hear, but Jack signing away his rights might be the best thing for those kids. A father in prison, a father who traumatized them by abandoning them, that's not a relationship worth preserving. Deep down, Sarah knew Patricia was right, but agreeing to it felt like admitting defeat, like acknowledging that her children's father was truly gone and never coming back. I need to talk to them, Sarah said. Emma and Tyler, they should have a say in this. That evening, Sarah gathered her children in the living room, the same room where she'd told them their father was alive 3 months ago, the same room where they'd spent countless family game nights and movie marathons when life was simpler and lies stayed hidden. Emma sat with her arms crossed, defenses up. Tyler curled into the corner of the couch, small and anxious. Claire had offered to stay for moral support, but Sarah had declined. This was something she needed to do alone, as their mother, as the parent who'd stayed. Your father's attorney contacted Patricia today, Sarah began, choosing her words carefully. Dad is going to plead guilty to the crimes he's accused of. He'll go to prison for several years. Tyler's face crumpled. How many years? Probably 8, maybe less with good behavior. 8 years? Tyler's voice rose to a wail. But I'll be 20. That's forever. Emma remained silent, her expression carefully blank. There's something else, Sarah continued. Dad's attorney is suggesting that he give up his parental rights. That means he would no longer legally be your father. He wouldn't have custody or visitation rights. It would be like he wasn't part of our family anymore. Good, Emma said immediately. Tell him to do it. Emma, this is a permanent decision. Once he signs those papers, there's no going back. You wouldn't have a legal father anymore. I don't have one now, Emma shot back, her voice sharp with pain. The man I thought was my dad doesn't exist. The real Jack Mitchell is a criminal who abandoned us and lied about everything. I don't want his name. I don't want his anything. Sarah turned to Tyler, whose tears were streaming down his face. Tyler, how do you feel about this? I don't want him to go away forever. Tyler sobbed. He's still my dad. Even if he did bad things, he's still my dad. I know, baby. I know this is so hard. Sarah moved to the couch and pulled Tyler into her arms. But sometimes people make choices that hurt us so badly we have to let them go. Your dad hurt our family very badly. He stole money, he lied, he left us without saying goodbye. Those aren't things a good father does. But maybe he'll get better, Tyler insisted, clinging to hope like a drowning man to a piece of driftwood. Maybe when he gets out of prison, he'll be sorry and he'll come back and we can be a family again. Sarah's heart broke for her son, for his innocent belief that love could fix anything. that people who hurt you would eventually make it right. She wished she could protect him from this truth, but he needed to learn it, even if it destroyed something essential in the process. Tyler, listen to me. Your father isn't coming back. Even if he gets out of prison someday, he's not the person you remember. That person never really existed. I know that's scary and sad, but it's the truth. You're just saying that because you're mad at him. Tyler pulled away, his face red and furious. You want us to hate him because you hate him. I don't hate your father, Sarah said, surprised to find it was true. I'm angry and hurt and disappointed, but I don't hate him. I feel sorry for him, actually. He threw away everything good in his life. You kids, our home, his career, his freedom, because he couldn't be honest about what he wanted. That's not hate, Tyler. That's pity. Emma spoke up, her voice calmer now. Mom's right, Tyler. Dad made his choices. We didn't do anything wrong. He did. And now he has to live with the consequences. But what about us? Tyler demanded. We have to live with consequences too. We lost our dad. How is that fair? It's not fair, Sarah admitted. None of this is fair. You kids did nothing to deserve this. But life isn't always fair, and sometimes we have to deal with situations we didn't create. They sat in silence for several minutes, the weight of impossible decisions pressing down on all of them. Finally, Sarah spoke again. I'm not going to force you to decide about your father's rights tonight. This is too big, too permanent. We're going to talk to Dr. Morrison about it. We're going to take our time and think it through carefully. But I need you both to understand something. She looked at each of her children in turn, making sure they heard her. No matter what happens with your father, you two are my priority. You are loved. You are safe. You are worth so much more than how he treated you. And we are going to get through this together as a family. Okay? In the weeks after telling the kids the truth, Sarah's life becomes a blur of meetings with her lawyer, her therapist, and the U.S. attorney as Jack prepares to plead guilty. She holds the family together as best she can. Emma throws herself into drama club and Tyler starts counseling for abandonment. On May 15th, Sarah attends Jack's plea hearing. Seeing him in an orange jumpsuit, bruised and thinner, he looks like a stranger. He pleads guilty to 17 counts, and sentencing is set for July. Outside, reporters swarm, and on the way home, Sarah tells Patricia she wants to testify so Jack hears exactly what he did to them. Over 7 weeks, Sarah painstakingly writes her victim impact statement, with help from Dr. Morrison and input from Emma. On July 10th, she stands in court and calmly calls Jack what he is now to her: a liar, a thief, and a coward who didn't just steal money but shattered her children's sense of safety and trust. She asks not for revenge, but for accountability. Jack apologizes weakly, and Judge Calloway sentences him to 8 years in federal prison. Outside, Patricia tells her she did well and reminds her the divorce is next. Jack signs away his parental rights, gives her the house in full custody. He just wants it finished. Free feels less like triumph, and more like grieving the life she thought she had. But as she drives home, she realizes he didn't break her. He exposed how strong she really is. 6 months later, in September 2014, Sarah watches Emma sorting old memories and deciding for herself what to keep, including a photo with Jack from before. Tyler, now more stable, slowly rebuilds a normal teenage life with help from therapy. Claire announces she's moving from Chicago to Indianapolis, taking a new partnership so she can be closer to Sarah and the kids. Sarah, reclaiming parts of herself she'd given up, enrolls in a photography class and takes back the passions Jack once dismissed. That evening, while downloading photos, Sarah receives an unexpected email from a prison account, Jack Mitchell. Despite wanting to delete it, curiosity wins. She opens it and reads his first real admission, that he was the problem, not her, and that his cowardice and lies destroyed everything. Jack writes to Sarah from federal prison, admitting his failures as a husband and father and acknowledging that forgiveness is not something he expects. For the first time, Sarah reads his words without finding manipulation, just exhausted honesty. She chooses not to respond. Some apologies come too late and her healing is no longer tied to him. In therapy, Sarah reflects on her progress. Anger no longer consumes her. She can think about the future, and she understands Jack's choices were rooted in his own flaws, not her inadequacy. Emma is thriving in school and channeling her trauma into purpose, while Tyler is slowly improving and even asks for therapy on his own. When asked if she forgives Jack, Sarah admits she hasn't, and may never, but she has forgiven herself for trusting him, and for the moments she struggled as a mother during the darkest period. That forgiveness matters more. Sarah instructs that Jack's small restitution payments be placed in a trust for the kids. She wants no connection to his money. Sitting at a park bench, she realizes forgiveness may simply mean releasing the weight he left behind. Her children suggest a Thanksgiving trip, new memories, and Sarah embraces the idea. On a beach months later, Tyler asks whether their father thinks about them. Sarah tells him honestly that what matters most is the life they're building without him. Emma adds that they now make their own choices. Walking along the shoreline, Sarah reflects on the sensationalized case of her missing husband. But from her perspective, it was really a story about survival. With Jack in prison and her life moving forward, she feels indifferent to whether he changes. Holding a perfect seashell Emma found, Sarah recognizes her own resilience, something shaped by pressure, yet unbroken. The legal case is closed, but her true story, one of rebuilding, rediscovering herself, and raising her children with strength, is just beginning. She continues creating a life authentically hers, capturing new moments with her camera, and embracing the future as the author of her own story.